Best of Getting Over 1,000 Google Reviews with Sam Mollaei, episode 131. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Profit with Law podcast. I am bringing to you a replay of an episode from November 6, 2019. We released an interview with Sam Mollaei called Getting Over 1,000 Google Reviews. And the reason that I am choosing to re-release this is, first of all, it is our second most downloaded episode of all time. So it's obviously a popular topic, but it was also a great conversation. Sam Mollaei is an attorney who specializes in, well, he helps other attorneys with setting up legal funnels, but his law firm is basically run with an online funnel that drives it's high volume, low ticket clients to his firm. And he has a process that we go through in this interview of sharing how he goes about and makes sure that every client is prompted and encouraged to leave a Google review. Now, at the time of recording this episode back in November of 2019, Sam had just over 1,000 Google reviews and a 5-star rating. Now, I just paused this recording to go and check. And if you Google Mollaei Law, you'll see that he does have still a 5-star rating. And just at the time I'm recording this, it's just shy of 1,700 reviews. By the time you're looking at this, it'd probably be over 1,700 reviews. So that's pretty incredible. He's increased on top of what he already had at the time that we recorded. He's increased another 500 plus. I don't know the exact number it was when we recorded, but definitely over 500 reviews in under a year. So obviously, many of you don't have that many clients coming through the door, so you can't possibly get that number of reviews in that short period of time. But reviews are more and more important every single day. And it is something that if you don't ask for it, if you don't encourage somebody to give it, the only people who are going to give you reviews are the ones who want to leave you a negative review. And it's so critical to make sure that you have people who are singing your praises. So when you have a happy client, you're encouraging them to go and leave that review. And if they're happy enough, they should be extremely happy to do that for you. So I wanted to bring you this episode again because of how timely it is and how important it is in the journey of growing your law firm. So for those of you who already heard it before, I think it's worth a re-listen. And if this is the first time you're hearing it, definitely enjoy the interview. It's a great conversation. It does go a little bit long, so it's a bit of a longer interview, but it's worth listening to. He even goes into the specific tools he uses and how he uses them. So that would be very helpful to you if you pay attention and listen through to the end. So enjoy, and looking forward to seeing you again for a new interview on Thursday later this week. Sam is an attorney who, my understanding is, started a law firm and then discovered the beauty of digital marketing and being able to generate leads and clients for his practice, that he's kind of switched gears and is building that out for other firms. But I'll let him tell you about that himself. But Sam, before we get into the weeds with all of that, why don't you share with us and our listeners your background and how you chose the legal profession, where you went to school, how you got started. Did you work for somebody? Did you start your own firm right out of school? Just give us the lowdown on your history and how it brought you to where you are today.
Hey guys. All right. So I'm Sam. I have been a lawyer for 5 years now. Pretty much I started off in employment law. That was my core kind of niche that I started in until I read a book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, where I got introduced to a couple of principles like running a virtual online business, automation, scalability, things like that. So as soon as I started reading into this, I got really intrigued, and I decided to go on my own. I decided to just to make a website and to focus on business law. I started off very general in order for me to just see what I could do. So I started learning about how to create a website, how to write content, and essentially it just came down to learning how to generate clients online. And luckily, I had something to apply to. I basically had a website to apply to. So I started working, and everything that I would learn, I would apply right away. Fast forward 4 years later, I've been able to serve 3,000 clients in the past 4 years. I've also been able to gather 1,000 Google reviews, probably the most Google reviews out of any law firm that I've seen. And just recently, I got accepted into the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club, which we could talk about later as well. Now, pretty much, I think I figured out, actually, I don't think I know. I figured out how to generate clients online, how pretty much entrepreneur lawyers can use the same system to be able to create these online systems called funnels to be able to bring in clients and be able to close them and be able to serve as many clients as possible.
So that's a very interesting journey that you just shared, because you kind of accidentally found this way of attaining clients and business into your firm, and then from there decided to do a pivot and provide that for other firms. So let's talk about that for a moment, because there are people who listen to this show who are not even sure if owning a law firm or being in the legal profession is really where they want to be. As a matter of fact, I'm in a business coaching organization specifically for thought leaders, course creators, authors, membership site owners, and so on. And there's a number of attorneys there who have left practicing law completely in order to pursue other businesses. And I personally spent 20 years in the IT industry, only to then pivot to accounting. I don't even know if I can call myself an accountant at this point. Really more a business advisor in the advisory services arena. But it seems to be something that people are just waking up to the fact that what they originally thought they wanted to do is not really what they're meant to do, or where they should be focusing their efforts. So tell me how you arrived at that decision. How did you know that? And you obviously didn't close your law practice. You're just changing where you're focusing your efforts. So how did you make that decision to focus here? And was that easy for you? What was the process that you followed to make that move?
So it all starts with you as a person to do some soul searching, to really figure out exactly what is it that you like and what is it that you enjoy doing. Everybody's very different. I can't tell you exactly what you should do, but there are practical ways to be able to do research to figure out exactly what drives you. Something practical I could say is figure out your strengths and double down on that and avoid all the things that you're weak at. So there are different types of people. There's some people who are very good with their mouth. They're able to talk to clients. They're able to socialize. There are some people who are like me, like working behind a computer, creating systems. I'm more like a macro thinker, or you could be very detail oriented. So you got to find out exactly what kind of brain you have. And then you go find those jobs or those opportunities where you're able to double down on those strengths and those skills to be able to apply law at the same time. Another thing I would say is it really pays off to be an expertise in two very completely different fields. So what I mean by that is, let's just say you have a law degree, you're a lawyer, great. Let's pick a niche inside of law. Okay, so just pick one niche that you really want to absolutely focus on, and combine that with another skill that you're really exceptionally good at. So if you're a good salesperson, you're good with people, then maybe you should be the one on the phone instead of your secretary closing clients and retaining clients. Versus, and let's just say, or you're good behind a computer and you're good at social media. So maybe you should be the one taking over your law firm's social media accounts and doing that. So figure out exactly those two different skills that you're good at and combine it and multiply it. And that's where you get really good results.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw in one more thing here. So if somebody is on the other end of this listening and saying, yeah, I really do think that there might be something else out there for me. There's a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Sam, but in the book, the author really takes you through the process of figuring out where your zone of genius lies, and that the key to success is spending all of your time in that zone of genius. So it doesn't matter really what niche it's in, what industry or profession. It's the actual activity that really lights you up, that you're really good at, that is going to be the thing that if you focus on that, you'll be extremely successful. And really, in growing any business, so if you're growing a law practice, understanding where you should focus your efforts and what you should hire staff around is really important. So that's a great book. If somebody wants to pick that up and read it, that would definitely help you with making that that transition, even if it's not to shutter your law firm or give up your law firm, or just to transition what you're doing in the firm. So I want to switch gears because you have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to marketing, and I want to touch on some specific points. So one of the things that you shared is that in setting out and creating your firm, you decided to have a general practice that offers business advice. Man, my guess is that you're basically helping people with setting up LLCs and corporations and stuff like that. First of all, is that an accurate assumption?
It is, but it was actually a big mistake to go off and do pretty much business law or anything general like that. So when it comes to online, you have to stand out. And you could never succeed with being a general practitioner. That's one. And two, you really have to focus on one niche. And it really comes down to niching. So even though I start off in general, I would not advise it. If anything, you should first look into possible niches that you could find. And the way you find these niches is finding specific problems that people are having. And I actually realized this about 4 years ago. Quickly, I think it only took me 6 months to kind of learn this lesson that I'm teaching. I basically put myself out there as a business lawyer, and I wrote some articles, and then I started getting some clients. And after a couple of months, I looked at my client list, and I kind of saw what those services I was offering. And I realized that the clients that I was getting, 80-90% of them were hiring me because of very specific problems they had, that those were the specific things that they searched for. So they weren't searching me for business lawyer. They were searching me for those specific problems that they were having. So I was actually, if anything, I was that type of lawyer. I was a problem lawyer. I was not a business lawyer. So if you ever want to find those niches, just look for those problems. And then another practical thing I would share with right now is really relevant is it basically comes down to keyword research. How you find these niches, two good tools that Google gives you is Google Trends. And the other one is Google Keyword Planner. Use those two tools. Literally all the information, the most valuable information is on those two tools. Just spend a couple hours, just look around, and you'll be able to find those money niches.
So I'm not familiar with Google Trends. Can you just take a moment and explain what that is? I know what the Keyword Planner is, and for those who are listening who don't even know what that is, the Google Keyword Planner is basically a tool that Google has you to search keywords to see what level of search volume those keywords are getting in the search engine. It's intended to be for planning your advertising campaign to figure out what keywords to target with your advertising, but it could be used for research because it's available for free. You need to have an ad account. You don't have to actually be running ads in order to use it. So what is Google Trends?
So first, before I explain Google Trends, it's important to understand what Google is good at. Google is good at having a lot of information on all of us. So, and they also realize that the more information that they pass on to their people that use their services, which is basically people that use Google Ads, the more they'll be able to use that information to make more ads, which makes Google more money. So they give out a lot of information out there. And one of those ways is through Google Trends. Google Trends, if you just go on it right now, just Google Trends, put it in. Basically what you do is you put in a couple of keywords, and it's one thing that it shows you is in comparison to other keywords. So if you're ever wondering whether you should be called, let's just say, a divorce lawyer versus divorced attorney, that's the best place to look for that. It also tells you in specifically what regions, what cities, what states those exact topics are hot at. It tells you breakout keywords. So if there's a very new niche that for some reason people are really seeking, it will show you that. It also shows you seasonal trends. A lot of good information there. Just go mess around with it. You'll get a lot of information.
Very interesting. So jumping back to this concept that you discovered of basically creating a online funnel to bring in new clients. And for those not familiar with the term funnel, it's been adopted pretty widely at this point to essentially describe a series of marketing efforts that is driving a potential lead to enter into your system and then slowly filter them down to the point where they become a client. So at every stage in the funnel, there are people who drop off. So you start off pretty wide and people start entering into it. And then as it narrows, you end up with less and less people, but they're more likely to end up purchasing your product or service. So Sam, if you can just take us through the general concept of how the funnel is structured. Like, obviously you start off with your research, you figure out what your niche is going to be, what your problem is that you're going to solve. But from there, are we needing blog posts and SEO, or is this strictly running a paid campaign to get people to enter in from there?
Yeah, so the concept of funnels is, as Moshe explained, it's not new. Online marketers have been using this technique for the past 10, 15 years, probably even longer. And now I see a gradual kind of shift of lawyers kind of understanding these concepts and applying it. What a funnel is a system in place through basically creating certain pages, content, videos, putting those together in order to convince somebody who has a problem, in order for you to convince them that they should basically go through to you to get the service or the product. So that's what it is. And what it entails is 4 parts. The first is traffic. So you got to figure out where those visitors, those people that are seeking your service come from. Quickly, I will just explain that it's Facebook and Google, and I'll go into detail of which one you should do. Second is a landing page, which is basically a dedicated page focused in order to generate leads off those visitors. Step 3 is an email nurture series that you basically send to your prospects, along with videos, along with testimonials, basically proof to nurture your prospects so that they would basically turn into clients. And then last, fourth, if you can add this to your funnel, it's like gas to the fire, which is retargeting. Basically, most people don't act based on them seeing you once or twice or 3 times even. They have to see you at least 7 times. Now they're saying 14 times, which is nuts. But think about it. Moshe, I want you to think about when was the last time you bought something? You have to see that product or hear about that product at least 10 times. Besides just I had this rule for myself.
That's why I drink 14 cups of coffee a day, so that I'm always ready to buy the next cup.
Until yesterday, that rule was broken for me. The AirPods Pro came out, and it was my fastest purchase. As soon as I saw the email, within 2 minutes, I purchased it. I don't know why. That besides Apple, like they're the only ones who can convince people to do that. But usually, you have to hear and see somebody 10 times at least until you spend money.
Well,
Um,
Sam, Apple's not an exception. So it even holds true for Apple. It's not product specific. So you have an affinity to the brand because you have way more than 14 touch points with the brand. You have experiences with the brand. You've purchased their products, and you have positive experiences with it. So you have a level of assurance with that brand that if you spend $250 on the AirPod Pro, that you're going to really enjoy your purchase, and you're not gonna regret it. And if you do, you'll be able to return it. So I don't think it's an exception. I think it's the same thing as a client coming back to an attorney for repeat business. If they had a good experience the first time, you don't have to have 14 touch points to get them to buy from you again.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Going back to retargeting, again, it's basically getting those touch points on Facebook in order to see your testimonials, in order to see pretty much your video. And that really, really does well right now, just because I see a lot of people are not taking advantage of that. There's just some people that have websites. They're getting traffic either through AdWords or through content marketing and writing blogs, but they're not taking advantage of the easiest thing you could possibly add on to your campaigns, which is basically a simple retargeting campaign on Facebook.
Yeah, so I think that there's a number of reasons why law firms are not running retargeting campaigns, and the first thing is that there seems to be this barrier to entry. In other words, I'm a attorney. I'm trained in the law. I'm trying to run a law firm. I'm as it is. I'm walking around saying I'm not trained in how to run a business, and I'm trying to run a business. And now on top of it, I got to figure out this marketing stuff. So the easy answer is no. You go to a marketing firm and have the marketing firm do it for you. The challenge is that there's very few marketing firms out there that are offering these steps. So many of the marketing firms are touting SEO, blog post writing, newsletter send. A lot of them are not focusing on the paid advertising up front, the Google and the Facebook cold audience ads, and then the retargeting ads as well. So I think that the problem is less about knowing it exists and figuring out how to find somebody to implement it for you.
Yeah, and those 4 parts that I shared, each one is its own world and its own world basically. So yes, it's not easy to implement. The lawyer, I learned, becomes kind of like the content creator. So he's the one that creates the videos and writes the blog articles, and then you have very technical people who are the distributors. Just the same way that the store they don't make their same clothes and also do the selling and do the wholesaling and all that stuff. It's the same kind of technique. So same idea. So yes, you should, as the lawyer, you should not necessarily be the one building out this entire thing. You should just at least understand it, know what those parts are, and then get the right people to build those different parts for you.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is a real problem because, I know I have direct relationships with a number of marketing firms that serve the legal industry, and they each have their area of focus. They each have their Swiss Army knife that this is the blade that they use, and it's very hard to come with your agenda to one of these companies and say, this is what I want you to run. You kind of need to choose somebody based on what their strategy is and then run with their strategy. So I don't know, Sam, if you have an answer to this, but there's definitely a gap in the marketplace between what's available out there and just being able to provide what people are asking for. So I think that if somebody walks away from this episode educated and knowing exactly what they need to do, they're going to have a challenge finding somebody to implement it.
Yeah, and Moshe, I think your audience is getting a first mover's advantage right now hearing about this. I promise you, this is not, I happen to like learn about this in the online marketing world, and now for the past 4 years, I've been applying it to the legal world. I promise you, the legal market will switch over, will transition to this kind of model. So either you understand these concepts and you apply it now before everyone else moves on it, or you'll be left in the dust. So as much as it sounds complicated, I promise you guys will end up eventually doing it. Might as well just get moving now. I mean, Moshe, if I came to you in the 1980s or 1990s and I told you, hey, real estate is going to be booming, go for it. It's the same kind of thing. So either you join the forces or you'll be left in the dust.
Right. Okay. So the broad strokes of the funnel, I understood. I just want to run through it real quick and make sure that everyone who's listening has followed the steps. So at the very beginning, you have a way of capturing the traffic. So and that way is through Google pay-per-click ads or Facebook ads. You said that you're gonna actually dive into that. So we'll go back to the traffic piece in a moment. And then from traffic, the next thing is that you're sending them to a landing page where I'm assuming you're offering them something for free, a bribe to get their information from them. Once you get their information, you're then sending them through an email sequence to warm them up to your brand. At the same time, you're doing retargeting ads on Facebook and Google, whatever other platforms make sense for you, to keep your company or your law firm's name showing up in front of them regularly, so that even if they're not clicking on your ads, they're seeing you practically everywhere. So once they've touched something of yours, they're now seeing you everywhere. Now at the end of that funnel, so you're doing all four of these pieces. How do you end up driving them to the selling point? Are you driving them to a phone call? Are you driving them to the sale of something small to get them started with you? How does that, and is that all automated, or how does the end of the funnel, converting them from a lead to a buyer, how does that work?
So you got to figure out your call to action. What's your main call to action that you want? There's a lot of macro call to actions that lead up to the main call to action. But for most lawyers, the main call to action is a phone call, either a direct phone call or a booking that's done through a booking software. So just have that in mind. That's your call to action. So that's the case for most lawyers. However,
now do you charge for that phone call, or is it free? And how do you prevent your calendar filling up with people who just don't show up? Or is that not an issue?
Yeah, it should absolutely be free, unless if you're at a point where honestly you're getting way too many and maybe you should filter out a little bit. But yes, usually by default free. And if it's taking too much of your time, then maybe you should be hiring somebody to be taking on these calls to at the very least qualify them. And if necessary, then hand them over to you. If not, maybe just have, people who can retain as well. So yes, the main call to action is phone call or booking. That's the main call to action.
Yeah. So, and we just had on episode 46, Maddie Martin from Smith AI on our podcast. And Smith AI is I don't want to minimize what they do. One of the things that they do is a virtual reception service, but they're a perfect solution for being that first line of defense to answer that call and just get the basic information of the caller, share something about the firm, and get them through that first process to either sell them something or move them to a deeper call, qualify them based on your criteria. So there's definitely solutions out there, and that's a great one. So go back and listen to episode 46 with Maddie Martin. She's got a ton of insight in that interview regarding using that in your sales process. So let's go back to the traffic piece, because I want to make sure that we touch on this. Traffic is a term that the digital marketers are using. Basically, it's referring to people who are out there on the web, and they are potential clients of your firm. And there's got to be a way to get their eyeballs in front of your stuff, as opposed to everything else that's out there on the internet. So talk to me about Google, Facebook, and any other options that there are, and which one our listeners should think about using, and how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so the two main sources is Google and Facebook. Um, the one that makes most sense is Google. And the reason why, because Google is intent-based kind of system where somebody that needs something, they go search for it. On Google, there are two ways. There's Google Ads, or there is organic listings. Google Ads is like the fast, kind of dependable way of getting results. SEO is the long-term, kind of more work, but possibly quote unquote cheaper solution. At this time, it definitely pays to do Google Ads. And the reason why I say that is the future of Google is Google Ads. I mean, it's not the future, it's actually what it is, but
It's the present.
it's the present, and also it will be increasingly present, because that's how Google makes money. Just if you just remember 8 years ago, organic results were up top. Now, if you just do a regular Google search, it's probably like the 12th in line. The first ranking is the 12th thing that shows up. So, and over time, it will get pushed down more and more because, again, Google makes money from Google Ads, so they're gonna just keep pushing that. So,
Right. So just to paint the picture here, if you do a search on Google for, let's just say, estate planning attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, you're going to get 3 Google ads first. Then you're going to get the map pad, which is, the local businesses, the top 3 local businesses that Google selects to show up for your search. That's within vicinity of where you are geographically, and then after that, they might have an informational article about selecting an attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, but usually the next 2 or 3 are the big listing websites like Avo and Justia and all those.
Yeah, and really, the answer is just Google Ads, honestly, more than SEO, more than content marketing. Content marketing and SEO does work. I do it. I've been doing it for 4 years, but it really takes dedication to a long, kind of long form kind of goal, and you got to stick it out and you got to do it. So, but really, for most lawyers, what makes the most sense is Google Ads. It's just you pay for your pretty much essentially you're paying for leads. It's dependable.
Now, I'm with you, and I've been beating this drum for a while, especially for firms who have not done any marketing before. SEO can take a very long time to get off the ground. Ads can pay off almost instantaneously. You can get easy answers as to whether or not your steps in your funnel are working. So you can start to analyze the metrics of where you're losing people along the way and start to tweak everything to get it to work even better. That's not to say that you shouldn't do SEO. It's just that I don't think SEO should be the first thing that you do. And obviously there's many opinions around this, and many marketers would sit here and argue with me. But I think that when you're getting started with marketing, chances are you don't have a war chest that can carry you for 12, let's say 6 to 18 months until you start to actually see some results from SEO. And then when you start to see results, that means people are checking you out. It doesn't mean that your system that you have in place to drive them to a phone call and to close a sale is actually working. So I'm a big proponent of starting with paid advertising in order to tweak everything and get it all working. And it's a much faster way to get instant results and see how everything is shaping up. My question to you is specifically on the Google Ads side. You painted the picture of a funnel where somebody is being driven to a landing page. They're then opting in, getting emails from you, getting retargeting ads from you. The thing is when somebody is clicking on your ad in Google, they're actively searching for a solution at that moment. Unlike on Facebook, where when you market to them, you're putting a message out there and hoping that it resonates with them, and they're going to start listening to what you have to say. And eventually they'll figure out that they have a problem that you have the solution to, but they're not actively looking for it. So it's interruption-based marketing versus marketing where they're actually seeking the solution. So my question to you is when somebody's actively seeking a solution, is it not better to have them drive straight to a phone call or straight to a lead generation thing and getting them on the phone as the very next step, as opposed to going through a funnel process? Isn't there? Wouldn't you lose them by the time you got to the point where you're trying to get them on the phone?
Yeah, so it depends on in the legal field that you're in. If it's an urgent matter where, let's just say, they need you right away, let's say like criminal defense, employment law, personal injury, those things where there's some form of urgency, the most important call to action that you want to push for is a phone call, not a contact form submission. Phone calls are about 5 times more valuable than a contact form submission. So your main call to action should be call us phone number. So have that in mind. If, on the other hand, you have some kind of service like estate planning, like business services, like things like that, then it might actually be better to get that email address first. That way you could nurture them, they get to know you. And a typical sales cycle, I've done a lot of research into my own metrics. I could tell you for myself, it's 1 month. 4 weeks from when they opt in to when they actually pay up, it's 1 whole month. So imagine what kind of marketing I have to set up front for me to know, hey, even this person is not taking action now, but I know in 4 weeks they're most likely going to sign up then. So just have that in mind.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on that process, because there's a lot that happens between that initial opting in on the landing page and that 4 week later action. So we'll get there in a moment. So talking about the traffic piece, you explained to us Google Ads. We covered basically the different types of areas of law, or the practice areas that would cater to different forms of Google Ads, where you're sending them to. What about Facebook ads? I already led into the fact that Facebook ads are more like an interruption-based marketing, where you need to kind of educate the market before selling to them. Do you find them to be more effective, less effective? Is it a second step that should be taken because it's easier to find your people with pay-per-click? Just set that up for us, and how does somebody decide what to start with and when to add the other?
So the good news is I've already spent tens of thousands of dollars experimenting this for myself. Also learned a lot from a lot of different people. The answer is Facebook ads. If you're going from cold traffic, that means somebody doesn't know you. Facebook ads is a lot harder to convert than just straight up Google ads. And it's just for the same reason that, again, they don't know you. So why would they give you attention from all the millions of distractions that we get on a daily basis? That doesn't mean you cannot do it. There is an advanced way. I'll just quickly go over it really fast. It might be a little bit too advanced, but I'll still share it. It's basically it first starts off with a video. You put out a 5-minute video talking about a very specific topic, and the video, you want it that whoever's watching it, they're gonna have to be kind of interested in it. If not, they probably wouldn't be watching the video. So 5 minutes of value, and then you can set up if it pretty much, and Facebook allows you to retarget those people who have watched a certain percentage of the video. Usually I would say 50 to 75%. It's usually a good metric to know whether that person's interested. So just give a practical example. Motorcycle accident lawyers, for 5 minutes, you only talk about how motorcycle people who ride motorcycles can basically be safe on the road. So if somebody's watching, 3-4 minutes of that, there must be, motorcycle enthusiasts. And then on Facebook, you create a retargeting based on people who have watched that video. And then next time when they see you, you pretty much want to give them an opt-in, give them a reason to basically for you to get their email address. And you basically set that up through a form. There are special types of ads that Facebook gives you, which is basically you get their email address, you get the email address that way. And then that's where the third and fourth part of the funnel comes through, which is basically sending those nurturing emails to nurture them. And over time, if they ever get into that kind of situation, they'll come to you.
Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty clear. I'm sure that you oversimplified the complexity of that, but I know that video ranks pretty well on Facebook, so it's fairly inexpensive to push that video out to your potential people. And you could target, if you're geographically based, you could target specifically people that are within that area. And this way, you're not advertising to people who you cannot represent because they're too far out of your geographic region. And then once somebody watches a certain percentage, you can then retarget to them as much as you'd like, based on the fact that they watched so much of that video. So that covers the traffic piece, and I wanted to move further down the funnel. So they've now opted in, and you're nurturing them. You're sending them these emails. You mentioned something about the fact that it takes about 4 weeks for your potential leads to convert into clients. What are you doing during those 4 weeks? Are you sending an email every day?
Yeah. So just quickly, I just want to, the second part is getting that email address or the contact information. If you're using Google Ads, you want to send them to a landing page and not your website. I see the biggest, probably the biggest problem that lawyers, whenever they do ads, 98% of them are sending them to their homepage or to another page. That's not a landing page. Just make sure that you're sending them to a landing page. What a landing page is, just quickly, it's just like a very focused, dedicated page to get them to either call you or for you to get their email address. So make sure to get a landing page built. The third part is once you get their email address, then you want to be able to send them emails for as long as possible. And these emails should be value-driven emails, not going straight towards, hey, you should call me. Hey, you call me. Just to avoid that. This should just be either value, motivational, anything that kind of gives value to the reader. And there is a little advanced technique, which is if you can do this, it's great. If you don't have to, but if you can add videos to your emails, it really stands out. They're able to really get nurtured just through 3 videos. You could use a tool called dubb.com to make a very short, informal video. Just you're recording yourself, just talking to your prospects. And I promise you, if you do this and you create at least 3 emails with these 3 videos, it will dramatically increase people who will pretty much respond back to you and want to talk to you.
Now, what's the benefit of using Dubb? Does it give you a URL to share that it's already hosted on there? So you just kind of like record and then it gives you that link?
So Dubb it kind of creates a GIF looking picture, an animated picture that adds that you can add to your email. So instead of text, it's just going to be a clickable video that they click on, and that takes them to a landing page, actually. A landing page, a very simple landing page, which just has the video and a button, basically whatever the call to action that you want. So people these days don't like reading. People don't have time. And the best way to really stand out is for them to watch a 3-minute video from you. It really, really, really helps with conversions when they see you in video to hear you talking. And then again, that page usually has a call to action. So whatever, you just tell them, hey, the next step is this. Either call me or book a time with me, or you can even send them to a sales page too.
Okay, so you mentioned 3 videos, 3 emails, but you also talked about 4 weeks. So fill in the gap for me there.
So 3 emails is the minimum viable product. If you're going to do anything, at least make those 3 videos. But yes, the longer the email series, the better. I was just trying to make it easier for lawyers to kind of implement and at least do.
So again, 3 emails. I mean, I could send 3 emails one after another. I could send them over 3 days. I could send them over 3 weeks. So is there a magical number, frequency of when these emails should be going so that you're not making somebody look at it and say, oh, him again, unsubscribe, but you're also not waiting so long that they don't remember who you are when the next email comes? Is there a magical number of how long to wait from email to email?
Yes, there is a magical number, and I've experimented with this kind of concept with being too aggressive versus being in the middle or conservative. The answer is more aggressive. You always want to send more. It benefits way more than it hurts. So versus them not hearing you. So yes, there's always, out of 100 people, there's always going to be a percentage of people who are going to get annoyed. it's okay. You're going to get the bigger chunk of people who are actually need you. You're actually serving more people by sending more emails. So don't be afraid to send as many emails as you like. I would say like a good number is in the first week, maybe like 4. So that means the first 2 days they get an email, and then maybe like a day break in the middle. And then after that, maybe every 2 or 3 days. That's usually like a good norm. But yeah, usually the answer is just send your emails. Don't worry about it.
Okay. And is there any specific consistency that's required for this to really work? Because I mean, if you're saying just be more aggressive about it, we can do an email a day. If it takes 4 weeks, I mean, I know personally, just putting out a podcast a week, how much work goes into that. Sitting down and writing an email can take time. You can do it quickly if you're pretty good with your thoughts and exactly what you want to say. But chances are you're going to sit there wondering what you want to share, how you want to share it. So if you're spending an hour writing an email, that could get old pretty fast for attorneys who are pressed for time as it is. So can we just talk about consistency for a moment? How important is that, and how does somebody navigate figuring out the right balance so that they can actually stick to the email writing?
A very good point you brought up. Yes, I definitely see this with lawyers. Like I don't have time for any of this. One is it's important to note that writing these emails, it's a very, very scalable action. You write your emails once and you let it run forever, pretty much. I wrote my emails a couple of years ago, and to this day, I probably send out probably a couple of hundred emails a day. And my last email that I actually wrote down was months ago. So you do it once and you just let it just run itself. That's one. Two is lawyers, I think, overthink things way too much instead of, and again, this is coming from my own mistakes that I made. I've tried writing. I took courses, I read books, I've hired probably dozens of people. The answer at the end, the emails, if you look at it, I wrote them. They're super short. They're straight to the point, and they're just, I didn't try to make a grandiose kind of, kind of line of work. It's just very kind of, I would say, even informal, the same way that you send emails between people. Most emails are like that. Why don't you just keep it like that? So keep it very short, straight to the point. People don't have time. They don't want to sit there to read a long email. So just a couple of words, literally a couple of sentences, add a video, add a call to action. That's it. Next email.
Got it. Okay. That's pretty clear. All right. So talk about calendaring, getting them on the calendar for a phone call real quick. I'm assuming you use software for that. I use software personally for calendaring. Everything, my entire calendar is driven by my customers, by my guests, by my speakers for my summit and all that stuff. So I use Acuity Scheduling. Do you have a favorite that you use, and what is that?
Yeah. So again, it depends on your type of law firm. If you need the calls right away, let's like personal injury, things like that, then just put your phone number everywhere, and that should be your main call to action. Your email and your website, everywhere. If it's a service related kind of business, where you have to do the work and take on calls, then usually you want to take on bookings. I use Calendly, and I've actually experimented with different ones, and I've actually found out, and I found out that Calendly actually works best. And I know this because I've literally done, at this point, I get probably 40 bookings a day. So I see a lot of numbers, and I run a lot of experiments. I think the reason why Calendly works best is because probably Calendly is the most popular one. So when people see it, they just automatically know what to do and what to click on. So it probably converts best. So just keep that in mind. Calendly also it's just easier. And also they're very good with sending notifications, automatic notifications. Just recently, they also released a feature where after the call, you could send automatic emails, which is great. In that email, you basically want to add 5 resources, maybe like a FAQ, a video, a couple of videos. The more the more people see and read your articles, the better. So you could actually add these resources to your email signature too. I don't see that many lawyers doing it, and I just implemented this yesterday once I realized this. Add a couple of resources to the end of your email signature, add it to Calendly, add it to as many places as they can, so that these prospects who are talking to you, they could click on those things to pretty much read and
increase those touch points with you, right?
exactly, yes.
Okay. You shared an interesting point about sending the follow up email, and it's got my mind racing because I've got I'm doing now I'm running a virtual summit, so I'm using my calendar a lot for getting sponsors for it. And when I finish a conversation with a sponsor, I end up sending them a recap email, and I'm doing that manually now. So I'm already thinking about my own uses of doing that. So thanks for sharing that tip. And I think Calendly probably is the most popular because it's also, I think, the most visually appealing. So it just looks really pretty when you go to book a call. It looks very professional, which is probably going to retain people. So another question for you as you're gathering this information. So you have this landing page, you get their name and their email address. Marketers in general say the less information you gather, the less likely they are to leave and to provide the information. But sometimes when you're in B2B space, it's very common, or even B2C, but you're dealing with a professional organization, that they might gather more information in that initial form. And really where I'm going with this is, can you ask for a phone number? Have you tested that? And in your experience, has that decreased the number of people that are opting in? And or has it created more better leads that are more likely to get on the phone with you? Because once you have a phone number, you can actually call them instead of waiting for them to call you.
Yeah, I have tested this extensively. It's definitely, I would say, basically your funnel depends on pretty much the opt-in. So it's, if you increase your opt-in rate by 20%, then you're realistically getting 20% more clients. So just have that in mind. The answer is you want to ask as least amount of information upfront as possible. And as they get more qualified, as they would engage with you more, then at that time, then you could try to qualify them. But yeah, in the beginning, under your landing page, ideally, just their email address. If you really, really, really have to, their full name or their first name. I don't collect their name. I just want to get their email address because that way I will have the highest chance of getting them at least into my funnel. And then at that point, just let my content, do the selling. I don't necessarily need to have their name. And also don't forget, like, you don't necessarily need their name. People these days know that once you get their name, even if you add it to your mail tags and it's personalized, like, that's not that big of a deal anymore. Maybe it was a couple of years ago, but not anymore. So, but on the other hand, for phone number, if your business depends on it, if you're going to be doing some outbound calls, or if those leads are very high value for you, then yes, go collect those email addresses too. In Calendly, there is, so what you do, again, you got the contact information, and then once you want the prospects to talk to you, maybe you might want to push them to Calendly. And on Calendly, that's where you could ask them some qualifying questions. And those questions, obviously, you want to have as least amount of questions as possible, but there could be some questions where it helps actually the people on the phone to be able to close that person with a better chance.
Very good. Let's talk about these Google reviews. Just taking a sharp left turn here in our conversation, but at the beginning of the episode of this interview, you shared with us that you were able to get over 1,000 Google reviews. Can you, first of all, share with us what the value is in Google reviews specifically? How does this compare to Avo and those types of sites? Or when you say Google reviews, you're referring to all review sites? And what's the secret to getting that quantity of reviews, out there?
Yeah, so let me start off with a story. It was about 3 years ago. At this time, I think I had like 3 reviews, and then I get an email saying I got a 1-star review, and I was so like frustrated. I'm like, where did this come from? I looked into the name. I couldn't recognize the name. It wasn't one of my clients. It wasn't even actually one of my prospects. To this day, I still don't know who it was, but I'm like, what should I do? And the best answer was just go get reviews. So I started asking for reviews. And then at the time, I was also learning about how to get links, how to ask people for links. And there was a strategy that Neil Patel actually put out about what's the right way to get people to give you links, basically. And the strategy that he shared was to ask for permission for you to ask them to do something. So instead of asking them straight up, hey, can you do this for me? And just expecting people to do it, get them to say yes first. And then once they say yes, then they're micro committed to continuing with that action for them to do the bigger action. So I could actually, for people who are watching the video right now, I'm about to pull out my mix max sequences, and I'll explain exactly what mix max is in a little bit. Here's the actual script that I use. Feel free to use this to anybody who's listening. This is the exact script that I use. And so far it was 1,000 reviews just a month ago. I'm at 1,104 reviews just in a month. This works. This is like, I'm sharing the secret sauce with you guys. It really works. Go implement it. And honestly, I don't see any lawyers using the strategy, but I'll share it with your audience, Moshe. So here it is. Here's the actual script. Pull it out. So you say their first name. You customize it.
Now this is when you've completed your engagement, correct?
Yes, right. As soon as I've completed the engagement, or when they're the happiest. So sometimes okay. I may even ask in the middle of the service. So I'm not afraid to ask. If they say, "Hey, no, I'd rather wait till everything's over," I'm like, "Okay, no problem." But it does also work for people who are not even finished with the service as well. So here's the actual script. Feel free to copy it. First name. I'd like to ask you for a favor. Would you please mind taking a few moments to write a review for me? Your comments will help others know what to expect for when they're looking for the service I offer. And now here's the call to action and the $1 million line for me. May I please send you a link to leave a review, if that's okay with you? ? So it's very subtle. It's instead of me giving them the link to say, hey, can you leave me a review? Here's the link. Don't do that. That's what most people do. Just get them to say yes. I don't mind. I'll leave you a review. And once they say yes, all you do is just send them a link and say, thank you so much. Here's the link. And then there's another line that I put in there that I think works pretty well. Here it is. It basically says, here's the link. I really appreciate you doing this. I'll be sure to return the favor when you need assistance in the future. So again, it puts it back on them. Hey, if you do this, then, I'll be.
I owe you one.
I owe you one.
Gotcha.
So this works. Use this strategy. That's the script, I think, is one part of it. The second part of why it works is I use a tool called Mixmax, which is a plugin that's inside of Gmail that lets you create templates and sequences inside of Gmail. What templates are pretty much saved text, things that you type over and over. Those are just saved as templates. And what sequences is pretty much templates along with automated emails if somebody doesn't reply back to an email. So let's just say for any question that any prospect could potentially have, I've created a template for that specific question. And I think at this point I have like 200 templates, and I could easily train an admin team or somebody else to answer most of my emails by just knowing what template to use to answer those questions. And then also, if I ever need a response in an email, I will add a Mixmax sequence to that email to make sure that Mixmax will automatically follow up if they don't respond back. So I'm showing on the screen right now. It says, if email 1 is not replied to within 1 weekday, then go ahead and send them this email. If that email is not replied back to in 2 weekdays, then go ahead and send them this email. And if that email is not replied back to in 3 weekdays, go ahead and send that email. So for every email that I want a response, I always have a rule. I have a sequence attached to it. There's no email that I want a response for that I don't have a sequence. And Moshe, I may have done the same thing for you to get in contact with you. I may have used a sequence. It works really well. As long as it's not too annoying and obnoxious, people don't mind it. There might be some 5% of people who get annoyed by it, but for the most part, people are okay with it. The emails will look genuine. There's nothing, deceiving about it. It really helps the prospect or the client ultimately, right? If they're looking for a service or something, you're helping them get there. So, it's not as spammy as you think. So just use a strategy. Make sure to use that script.
Honestly, I was impressed with how on top of your game you were. Like you were persistent, and I respected you for that. So now I respect you a little bit less, knowing that it was just technology behind. No, no,
Totally
but
cool. It works.
this is really beautiful, and I love you sharing this tool because I use Google Suite, G Suite. That's what I use here in my business, and I've been struggling with trying to find a tool that would do exactly that. So I appreciate you showing that to me, and I'm sure that there are people who are listening to this that's going to be the one takeaway of this whole episode is let me go check out this Mixmax tool. But no, really, really cool stuff. I love technology, and I love when it allows us to make our lives easier, and not just make it easier, right? This is not just about buying back time, but it's also about creating consistency that you didn't have there before. There's a certain discipline that we lack as human creatures, and technology allows us to overcome that. And when you're serving clients, that's part of the key of customer satisfaction is them feeling like you care about them. So if you send an email to them, they don't respond, and now you're waiting until you're like about to send them a bill, and you're like, oh, wait a second, I can't bill them because I haven't spoken to them in 2 weeks. And then you go back and you say, oh, they never responded to my last email. Now you're sending them another email where you could have had a sequence in there automated to continue to prompt them to respond to the initial email that you sent. Now it looks like every day or every other day you're thinking about them. That raises your customer satisfaction level. It doesn't decrease it because you're harassing them.
Yeah, and don't get used to don't get used to the emails softwares that you guys use. And notice, I used to use Apple's mail software, and I also see some lawyers using Outlook. Just because you happen to use it, if you can, come on to Gmail. That's where a lot of different tools, a lot of different things are there. It definitely works to your advantage. The other thing I would say inside of emails, to make sure to label your emails, auto filter your emails. So if it's coming from specific people, if it contains specific subject lines, specific things, automatically it gets filtered. And if you have admins or different kind of staff, then you have different people in charge of those filters, of those ones that are labeled exactly that. So kind of Mixmax and that filtering kind of system is how I'm able to run an automated law firm. Really, like the entire process for all my services that help hundreds of people a month, it's pretty much automated through these systems. So it helps your clients, it helps you. Why not? Go for it.
Now, are you using built-in features of Gmail with the auto filtering, or are you using another third-party product? Because I know that Gmail doesn't use folders; it uses labels, which is very confusing. Like even if you label something, it still shows up in your inbox, so your inbox is never uncluttered in the native Gmail application. So, are you using something special there? Or?
No, it's the native Gmail filter, and you can actually set it so that it skips your inbox and it just automatically goes to be filtered. At this point, since I get so many emails, even though I have about 30 different labels, but I only answer one. It's basically Sam's attention, and only about like 10% of emails go there, and those are the only emails that I answer. The rest are, for the most part, are dealt with different admins, people doing very specific tasks around those specific filters.
All right, when we're done with this interview, I'm going to find out how to get Sam's attention when I send emails. All right, Sam, this has been great. We're really running out of time. I know you had other things you wanted to talk about, but honestly, there's been a ton of value that we've covered and provided here. But I'd like you to share with our listeners if they not only like what you had to say, but they want, I don't know, they want you to do it for them, or they want additional help beyond what they've learned on the podcast. How would they continue the conversation with you and take next steps to talk to you, hear more about it, or actually work with you?
So I feel like I've been in the trenches for the past 4 years to kind of prove, do a lot of different experiments, kind of prove all these concepts. Everything that I'm sharing is through so much trial and error to get to this point. So I have a lot of kind of this knowledge about essentially how to generate clients online. I also happen to be very, very, very open to sharing information and things with other people. I don't see the world as a zero-sum game. I believe in the ecosystem where if I help somebody in any shape or form, even my direct competitors, I still benefit. I've seen it over and over, and I have no problem with it, and I'll continue doing it. While, people might be holding on to secrets, I'll have none of those. So I also get mentored by somebody very successful, somebody who knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to the legal field. I'm the same way. I'm very open to mentoring people, kind of sharing that knowledge. So yeah, feel free to, if you are interested in these kinds of concepts, generating clients online, running a virtual law firm, running a law firm from your bedroom, these kinds of concepts, get in contact with me. My email is sam@legalfunnel.com. Or if you like, just Google my name, Sam Mollaei. You'll be able to see my law firm. You'll be able to see my reviews. You'll be able to see pretty much what I do. If you're interested, don't hesitate. Please contact me. I'll be happy to talk to you. I am right now currently working on kind of creating two types of offers: a self-serve program where I'm able to kind of hand over these different parts of these of the funnel to generate clients online for lawyers, and also provide instructions straight to the point. Again, not wasting anybody's time, straight to the point, how to implement this right away. Self-serve program. And also I'm going to have also a built for you and fully managed kind of system. But I'm only going to be working with people who take action, who are not afraid, who are willing to kind of go with it. So if you're one of those people, don't hesitate to contact me.
All right, very good. Sam, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This has been amazing. I'm sure that there are going to be people emailing you from this episode, and there's a number of people out there who have gotten new information from you today that's going to completely change the way that they're marketing in their firm, and hopefully impact their bottom line and help them drive their firm forward. The name of the podcast is Profit with Law. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help attorneys with growing their bottom line, and many times that means figuring out how to grow the top line first in order to make the bottom line better as well. So I enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate your time being here and joining us, and I'm sure that there's going to be a ton of value from this. So thank you so much for joining us. And for those listening, until next time, we'll see you again just in a few days with our next episode. Have you been enjoying the show? We sure hope so. To make sure you never miss an episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast player app. Next week, we will be back with more valuable resources and ideas on how to break the mold and take your law firm to the next level.